I was blessed to be raised by my nanny, my mom's mom, who consistently said three things to me throughout my life. I love you. I hate that behavior. I love you. Over and over again, I heard that. As a kid, all I heard was, I hate that behavior. I didn't hear the I love yous, but it was in there over and over and over. And as I evolved and grew up, and then later matured, I want to be really clear, growing up does not constitute maturity. Sometimes the only difference between adults and children is height and weight. It's just true. I began to hear deep within me the difference between I love you and I hate that behavior. And I began to understand what she was teaching me was that I am not my behavior. And that's the problem, is that the behavior doesn't represent who I actually am. And I think that is a core tenet of our teachings that we often don't articulate. Because we talk a lot about turning from condition, but we don't often talk about what makes it so hard to turn from condition. And it's because we live in a culture that systematically educates us and indoctrinates us to identify with condition. If a person tells a lie, they're a liar. Is that true? No. They're a person that told a lie. If somebody steals something, their whole identity is a thief, when in truth, they're a person who stole something. We do it with our jobs. If my job is a police officer, I am a police officer. Is that the truth? No. I am a person that has chosen the profession of a police officer. And so I get up every day and I put on a uniform and I go to work to be a police officer. But that's not the person's identity. I like to chase words. I found it interesting that even as I was doing this, what was in my thought process is, I'm a word chaser. I was like, seriously, Ray? You're going to go there? While your whole talk is about not identifying with what you're doing, you see, it's deep in there. It's deep. Behavior actually has its word origin in demeanor. Demeanor has its word origin in demean, which I went, where's this going? Because it certainly isn't going where I understand behavior. See, when I think about behavior, I have to be honest, I just thought about it as stuff I do. And the more I chased words, the more I realized that behavior is what is assigned to the things we do. It's not actually the things we do. It's what we tell ourselves about the things we do. Because behavior is defined as good or bad, positive or negative. Demean, in interestingly enough, is based, the origin of the word demean is based in identity. Now, I'm not sure how we got linguistically from identity to demean to demeanor to behavior, but what that woke up in me is the whole full circle where we identify falsely, take on the identity of behavior. And what would it look like? I love your song. If we stop that. What if we just stopped? What if we just gave up any idea or focus on doing it differently, and we just stopped identifying people as their behavior? What might we see? Might we actually see what's really going on? Might we see that a mother who shoplifts food to feed her family isn't necessarily a thief as identity, but more powerfully, a mother who cares deeply for her children and is operating from a place of love and compassion in a system of conditions that set up a behavior. What other things might we see when we look at what's behind the action? There's a lot of that happening in this spiritual community. There is a lot of healing opportunity that is available to us as a community. One of the things that has been honestly unsettling for me as your spiritual director is over the months of asking folks to do the sacred reading and having 3 separate individuals at 3 completely separate times respond with the same "I didn't think I qualified" response. And yeah, that's exactly where my heart went. Ouch. Now, I could just stay in that ouch, and I can make up a whole story about this community, or I can sit with that ouch and ask myself, what is that ouch about? Because our teaching says there's only one of us here. So if you're feeling an ouch, so am I. See, I don't have to ask you what the ouch is. I have to ask my soul what the ouch is. Because whatever is in you is in me. We cannot say we believe in oneness and operate from convenient separation to sidestep things that are uncomfortable. I mean, we can. It will never be true. And we're participating in the wound every time we do that. And I want to be clear, the messages that we're all carrying about behavior are not of our own creation. They're not. We were born into it. And I think one of the things that gets in our way is that we don't want to be responsible for things we didn't create. And if we go back to oneness, Rafe in this form didn't create it, but Rafe as the oneness absolutely participated. But see, we in our humanness want to separate. That behavior was given to me by somebody else, so there's nothing I can do about it. These teachings tell us over and over again, there's everything you can do about it. Everything I can do about it. Because when I heal something in me, it heals something in you. And you, and you, and you, and you. And you who are out there, wherever, we heal the whole. Because there's only one thing happening here. We are, you know, it's interesting. I have been out on hikes and different adventures with lots of people. Out in the wilderness, in the woods, and doing landscaping and all kinds of things. And never once have I encountered anybody watching a rabbit get startled and run and stand there, look at that stupid rabbit, he's afraid. He just needs to get rid of his fear. Never seen it happen. Never stood in somebody's yard while they had a conversation with the different kinds of grass, vilifying one kind and cherishing another kind. But we do that with each other all the time, based on behavior. Now, Joanna knows this is coming. She just doesn't know when it's coming. Because my dress this morning is part of my talk. And I knew that somebody would say, jeans, really? So whoever was the first one to say it is part of the talk. Okay? And she just happened to be the first one. Okay? Now, there's other folks, and I knew this getting dressed, there's other folks who are going, well, thank God. He's more relaxed now. Now, here's what I want to tell you. He's not more relaxed. He's very self-conscious. Because his identity is wrapped up in certain behaviors too. Now, if I'm telling the whole truth, what actually came to mind was to show up in my duty boots, my gym shorts, and a tank top. And then I realized this is going to be captured on videotape, and that was not happening. Okay. Because that, you know, there's only so much you can erase in the world, and once people have seen it, there's no unseeing it. Doesn't make me bad. Doesn't make me good. What it makes me is caught in the loop of human thinking. How do we get out of it? We own it. If you're standing in a room and you want out of the room, what do? You find the door or the window, but you find an exit. None of us, by virtue that we're all here in this room, stand in a room and contemplate, how do I get out of here? And stay there until something magical happens to get you out of a room. Okay? But isn't that what we do with our thoughts? How do I unthink this? Well, you don't. You can't unthink a thought, but what you can do is stop thinking it. But you can't stop thinking it by thinking about it. And you know, how many times, I mean, the ridiculous nature of this loop has to be amusing. Because we're like, okay, I need to stop thinking about this, and I need to So when it comes up, I'm going to tell myself to stop thinking about it, because if I tell myself to stop thinking about it long enough, I'll stop thinking about it. Really? It's like putting Miracle Grow on that thought. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So in the beauty of synchronicity, get out of your own way. Thank you for that. Bye-bye. See, if I'm doing this, and so many of us are like, I don't know how to stop. So I used to do this with drug treatment clients. I'd tell them, start moving your arm up and down. And then when they got really lulled into it, to the top of my lungs, I would scream, stop! And they freeze. And I'm like, oh, seems as though you do know how to stop. See, stopping is not our problem. What do we do instead is our problem. And if we don't do something instead, we'll go back to what we were doing, because that is our programming. Anybody that has ever raised a child knows this. Tell your child to stop doing something. I do. Fail to redirect their energy, and what do? They go right back to doing it. And we as parents, how many times do I have to tell you to stop that? Now here's the interesting thing that I learned in both metaphysical Bible and just Bible studies. Jesus fell into the same trap over and over again. He got frustrated with his disciples and the apostles. How many times do I have to tell you guys? I've already told you this. What aren't you getting? Okay. Now, if Jesus was challenged by this, that takes a whole lot of pressure off of me. Hopefully it does for you too. Okay. It's part of the way our humanness operates. Our philosophy, our call, our charge, if you will, is to find that higher thought. It is to operate from and in cause. Okay. Not, and I smile because I had this whole journey with myself, and I still have to do it. When we say operate from cause, we are not talking about what caused this thought. Because we very quickly go to what caused this, who caused this, who's responsible. And that's not about spirituality, that is about guilt, shame, and blame, and it is a misuse of the concept of cause. Cause is belief. And do I believe more in my soul? Do I believe that what is within me is really what created me? Or do I still have spirit outside of me? Because if I'm waiting for something to inform me, I have God outside of me. I have spirit outside of me. And from everything I know about our teachings and my experience with them, even though the telegram is a great idea in the mind of God, it doesn't send them. I want them. I have even prayed, excuse me, but written communication is a divine idea in your mind. Could you use it? Seriously. We do telegrams. Why can't you do a telegram? And then I realized it does as us. But what I was really doing was looking back to that God in the sky that I was taught growing up, and I'm waiting for Him to fix me, which is predicated on a belief that I'm broken. And if I am divinity in form, broken doesn't exist in me. And it doesn't exist in you either. We can't be broken, so we can't be fixed. What we can do is fall asleep. We can fall deeply asleep. We can walk around in human form completely comatose spiritually. And if you disbelieve that, pay attention. Pay attention to your own life. Pay attention to the behaviors in other people that you dislike. And look underneath that. I'll bet you there's an interpretation that they're unconscious. And what I invite you to consider is that your consideration and assessment that they're unconscious comes from unconsciousness yourself. See, what's in me is in you. And that one's a lot easier to get next to, at least for me. Again, maybe it's just me. But that's a whole lot easier to embrace than what's in you is in me. See, I'm good with what's in me is in you because it's coming, if I'm being really honest, it's coming from a place of placation that, oh honey, there's hope for you. Because I know what's in me, and that's in you too. You'll get there. It's very condescending belief. And how does that change when we flip it? When we take the behavior, the actions of another that brings up the venom in us. Are you willing to look at that and say, that lives in me? Because there's only one Messiah. That is spiritual responsibility. We are not our behaviors, but we are what is behind the behaviors. When we in our philosophy say there's one consciousness that we operate in, through, and as shared consciousness, there's no except in that. There's no we're one until I don't like what you do. And then you're something different. Our philosophy is not for sissies. It's just not. And it's oftentimes excruciatingly uncomfortable. When we see a person who lives in diametric opposition to the way we are choosing to live, why are they wrong? And why are we right? Those are the questions to begin to ask. Because if we are one, there is no right or wrong. Now, I'm not saying that there are not behaviors that people engage in that hurt one another. Because there are. I'd have to be a complete moron to say that. We read several months ago the definition that rightness, correctness, is based on, does it harm another? That is straight out of Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind. We have a litmus test. But does that make whoever's engaging in the behavior less whole, perfect, and complete? Does it remove them from the equation of oneness? Because if it does, you're operating in something other than science of mind. Don't make you bad. Don't make you wrong. But that is not what we teach. Do we have the courage? I love me some Howard Thurman. Give me the courage to live. Really live, not merely exist. Live goes to life. Are we willing to be life? Not willing to do life. Are we willing to be life? To live dangerously, scorning risk? Or are we going to play safe? Are we only willing to be enough of the truth of our being to be comfortable, to get other people's approval of our behavior? And keep in mind, that approval is based on their assessment, not yours. So it is a complete advocation of your spiritual being to let someone else define you. Daring the truth, particularly the truth of myself. Make no mistake, what created you is the essence of you. That is the truth of your being. Are you willing to be that? To move beyond thinking about it, to move beyond it's a nice idea, to it is your life. It is how you live, moment to moment. To live resiliently, to have some bounce back. Doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, but we have elasticity, we have resiliency. We bounce back instead of staying in the, my God, how stupid am I? Pay attention to the internal talk. When you make a mistake, are you the mistake? Was it a, kind of wish I'd have chosen a different behavior here? Or, are you stupid? Are you flawed? Are you any number of negative things? Because I'm here to tell you, it's not the truth of who you are. And it doesn't matter how many times you repeat it, it's never going to be true. But it will be true for your experience. Ever changing, ever growing, ever adapting, enduring the pain of change, as though twere the travail of birth. Are you willing to be born again? Not in the Christian sense, in the birthing the truth of your being through the human condition. Are you willing to be that? Give me the courage to live. Give me the strength to be free and endure the burden of freedom and hate loneliness of those without chains. Let me not be trapped by success, nor by failure, not pleasure, nor grief, nor malice, nor praise, nor remorse. Give me the courage to go on. See, all of those things are how we typically define behavior. Success, failure, remorse, all of those. How would you live your life if you threw out all of the qualifiers? just stood in the courage of who you are, the magnificence of who you are. Facing all that waits on the trail. I'm particularly taken by the word waits, because that tells me I don't know. It's there, but I don't know it's there yet. Am I willing to live in the mystery, really live in the mystery? Not the qualified mystery, where I'm going to sit and contemplate it till it becomes clear what I'm heading into. But am I willing to walk around the curves of the trail that I can't see around? Going eagerly, joyously on, and paying my way as I go, without anger or fear or regret, taking what life gives, spending myself to the full, dead high, spirit winged like a god. That's who you are. We are made in the image and likeness of that. Are you willing to live like that? On and on till hate shadows draw close. Then even the darkness shuts down, and I go out alone as I came in, naked and blind as I came in. Even then, gracious God, hear my prayer. Give me the courage to live. Let's take this into prayer. Knowing that there is only one, that it is here now in form. That it is the very life of every being, of every form. And that it is unequivocally, unarguably, undeniably whole, perfect, and complete. Wanting nothing, lacking nothing. It is the truth of every life. And in this specific moment, every life within the sound of my voice. We are made from it, by it, held, sustained within it. This is the truth of our being. And as I speak this truth, I am moved to a realization that no behavior can ever identify the truth. That is that place of beingness. And so I speak my word, claiming and affirming that the power within each and every being here comes to the surface to be. That every behavior, every false identity that blocks a full experience and expression of the being that each is, comes to the top to be dealt with. That it must come into the light. And as it comes into the light, it is transformed. That each and every one of us makes that decision, breath by breath, moment by moment, to say yes or to say no. And that we consciously stand in our choice. And that something within us calls us to that yes, even when we're in the no. And that we are willing individually and collectively to stand with even the one in the no, from a place of complete openness and love, seeing the truth seeing their true identity without condition, without persecution, without any need or agenda to change them or move them, but simply to love one another right where we are, and to move with one another as we shift, knowing that the full emancipation of every spirit must happen. It must. The complete freedom from discord is our birthright. Grateful to be used of the divine. Grateful to have found and find on a word-to-word basis that place within me that just surrenders. That just says, yes, use me. And that what is using this vehicle is within me, not without. Grateful to claim all of me as I do, to claim all of humanity in that same breath, to stand in that oneness with glorious hallelujah and the confidence of truth. And in this gratitude, I move to release from that place of certainty that it was already done before I spoke it, and then speaking it as